Hello everyone and welcome to this new video. Today I have the honor to present you the uniform of Captain Miller from the movie Saving Private Ryan. Before we start, I would like to thank my partner La Petite Musette. You can find the link of his shop in the description if you want to find some elements of this uniform. I also want to thank Rigger Shop & Co for his support. If you like the homemade US stuff, I invite you to look on their shop online, also in the description. This video replaces the first one I published in 2015. It was not enough complete in my opinion, and the sound wasn't good. So today I'm taking the opportunity to improve it and focus on the fictional character of Tom Hanks in the movie Saving Private Ryan. You can watch if you want to compare the link of the old video in the description because now it is unlisted. Nevertheless, the video remains only a base in spite of my long-month researches and my exchanges with experts, and that should only incite you to seek by yourself if you want to look further. You can find all those elements that compose this uniform in the description with the corresponding timing. The 2nd Battalion was created on the 1st of April 1943 at Camp Forest, Tennessee. Shortly after, Major James E. Ruder took command of the battalion. Notices were sent out through the US Army to recruit new volunteers to form the new battalion, the first to be established in the US, the 1st Battalion having already been created in Great Britain. The acceptance criteria were strict, very good physical condition and a good intelligence, to have an exceptional physical stamina and mental toughness. From the beginning, they were intending to land on D-Day on the European front. The date and location were, of course, not decided. They also had to master all types of weapons, as well as hand-to-hand combat, infantry tactics, and any other form of combat, such as amphibious combat. The battalion relocates in September 1943 to Fort Pierce, Florida, and then to Camp Ritchie, an army intelligence school where they learned how to use the German weapons as well as basic German. In early December 1943, the Rangers arrived in Grenache, Scotland, and trained with Scottish and British commandos. Training in cliff climbing took place in Bude, on the west coast of England. At that time, the battalion consisted of about 500 men in 6 companies plus an HQ company. The companies had 2 sections and each had 2 rifle groups, a BAR and a mortar team. In January 1944, the commandos taught them the use of boats for night landings and the associated combat and reconnaissance techniques. In the spring of 1944, the battalion was transferred to Brighton to participate in a rehearsal of the landing called Fabius 7. The 2nd Rangers Battalion remained under the command of Lieutenant Colonel James E. Ruddle, who also took command of the 1st Ranger Battalion for Normandy. Their mission landed at the Point du Hoc and Omaha Beach in the Dock Green area. Companies D, E and F landed at the Point du Hoc at 7:10 am, 40 minutes after the H hour, due to navigational error. But they managed to accomplish their mission by escalading the 30 meters cliffs, which is about a 10-floor building. Their target was to destroy coastal artillery, but the bunkers were empty. The guns were found 2 kilometers inland. Company C, led by the Captain Raphael Garrison, landed at 6:30 am on Omaha Beach. Their mission was to clear the enemy from the top of the Pointe de la Percée, called by the German Widerstandsnest 74, or WN74, to avoid enfilade fire on Omaha, when the 1st and 29th Division were also to land. Nearly half of the men died on the beach under heavy fire, using their bayonets and making short work on each other. 3 men climbing the 100-foot cliff and dropped ropes for the camera to climb. Finally, the 15 or so injured survivors of the 68 men of C Company who landed spent the day cleaning WN73 over the Vierville-sur-Mer Valley, supported by a group of the B Company 116th Regiment from the 29th Division. And finally A&B companies, part of the HQ and the whole 5th Battalion of B-Force, which were initially supposed to land as reinforcements of Pointe du Hoc, were rerouted to Omaha, where they landed at 7:30. They managed to leave the beach quickly, seeking to join their comrades at Pointe du Hoc, further at west. After regrouping, the surviving Rangers pushed west toward Grand Camp-Maizy. Placed in reserve of the 4th Army on June 10th, reinforcements then arrived and were trained by the battalion to fill in the gaps. The battalion was in charge of guarding the German prison camps near Utah Beach, then in the Cherbourg area before following the progression of the 1st Army in Mayenne, where it stood guard on the bridges spanning the river of the same name, while sending offensive patrol towards the Morton and Falaise pocket. At the end of August 1944, the battalion was assigned to the 29th Infantry Division and participated in the liberation of Brest. A company was able to capture 815 Germans and rendered the largest fortress in the region ineffective. In September 44, the Rangers were attached to the 8th Infantry Division to clear the Crozon Peninsula, south of Brest. They were able to free 400 American prisoners. The battalion then went to Landerneau near Brest and Arlon in Belgium, where it arrived on 3 October 1944. The Rangers were attached to the 1st Army during a stage in Luxembourg and then held a defensive line in Vossenach, Germany. The order was given to take the Hill 400 in the Brandenburg area. The assault was launched on the morning of December 7th, under the command of Major George S. William, after several observations and reconnaissance by D and F companies, while A, B, C and E companies secured the town of Bergstein. The Germans counterattacked several times and suffered heavy losses because of the artillery, which was very effective in the forest, the trees exploding on impacts, multiplying the deadly projectiles. The hill was held until relief, which arrived on December 9th. The survivors of Hill 400 then rested but were soon sent back to Simerat to defend the positions during the Ardennes counter-offensive. They were then attached to the 78th Infantry Division, which had to defend the left flank. The battalion held its position successfully and received replacement in mid-January 1945, who were trained directly on the spot. In early February, they were attached to the 102nd Cavalry Regiment and formed 2 battle groups to cross the Roux River. During the offensive, the Rangers captured about 20 towns and took 500 prisoners. At the end of March 1945, the battalion crossed the Rhine River and resumed fighting after a brief break. On April 1st, the Rangers celebrated their 2nd anniversary. The battalion found itself in Czechoslovakia for the first week of May 1945 and underwent soft skirmishes. The Rangers ended the war at this time, and the 2nd Battalion was deactivated after the war on October 23, 1945. The Rangers wore the infantry uniform with certain particularities due to the statute of the elite troops. On D-Day, 2 battalions were deployed on Pointe du Hoc and Omaha Beach, the 2nd and 5th Ranger battalions. Here we take the uniform of Captain Miller, a fictional character from the movie Saving Private Ryan. Regular pants is used to the entire US Army from 1937. The pants are cut in the olive-brown serge, which earned him the name Mustard among collectors. For the landing, the version with a flap for gas protection behind the fly was distributed. In field dress, the officers wore the same pants as the troops. The Rangers had several choices for shoes: wrought leather low boots, which were in general supplied at the time of the landing, leather low boots, which were an older model and therefore less common, or jump boots recovered from the paratroopers. Captain Miller decided to wear Type 2 low boots. From November 1942, the model received a rubber pad under the sole, which could be replaced by shoemakers according to wear. To complete the uniform and to reinforce the protection against combat gas, the Rangers were provided with the HBT standing for Herringbone Twill. It was originally intended for coarse, training and dirty work. The position of the tight pockets and their size depended on the model. The last version dated from April 1944, corresponding to the one presented here. The previous version had the opening of the pockets placed too high on the leg, and it was difficult to plant the hand there. The suit is light green in early production, then dark green. The official olive drab number 7 color introduced in 1943 for battle uniforms and equipment. Loops are placed at the waist to allow the use of belt. The HBT pants came over the mustard pants and were treated with gas protection, making them sticky and fragile in the long run. The button of the pants can be maintained at mid-calf on the gaiters with elastic bands. With the low boots, it was necessary to protect the bottom of the pants and prevent water, sand and insects from entering the shoe. Jumping boots owner did not have this problem. Therefore, strong canvas gaiters were distributed starting in 1938. They are locked by passing a lace through eyelets and metal hooks. A strap is used under the shoe to ensure optimal support. The lace is to be placed from the bottom and make sure that the hooks are placed on the outside of the calf, toward the back, to avoid that they catch everywhere. Remember this reminder: obeying outside buckles, back hooks, neglects avoid. The shirt of the same color was also manufactured from 1937 onwards and went hand in hand with the pants. However, some officers choose to wear a tailored shirt in combat with some design differences, such as the shapes of the pockets, which were more elaborate, and the presence of epaulettes, which were systematically used on officer shirts. The unit insignia was not mandatory on the sleeve, and the officer's rank is found on the collar. On the left side are pinned the crossed rifle of the infantry. The field jacket, called M41 by the collectors, was used until the end of the war, either in Europe or in the Pacific. It is made of fine cotton poplin and lined with flannel. The two front cut pockets don't have flaps to secure the contents, so be careful with the effect. Button tabs on the allow the jacket to be adjusted a little at the waist, 3 possible positions. Some soldiers wore the jacket inside out for better camouflage, as the lining is darker. The officer most often wore the troops model. The jacket was replaced by the new M43 combat jacket for winter campaigns in 1944. One can see a remnant of gas detection armband on one of the epaulettes, as the armbands were not waterproof and would tear very quickly. The officers had a specific cap or garrison cap, different from that of the non-commissioned men. It was made of dark green wool and has an interlaced black and gold piping. On the left side we find the rank, a metal badge attached on the pin. On the other side you can find the regimental insignia. The cap was never worn in combat, it was reserved for service dress. Issued from 1941 to replace the obsolete M1917 helmet, the M1 helmet was made in 2 parts. Made of manganese steel, was painted olive green and had a non-magnetic stainless steel snap fastener. All shears had the same size. On the other hand, the liner was first made of compressed cardboard, then of plastic resin for solidity in wet environments. The liner was initially of fixed size, then changed to adjust size to facilitate distribution by the quartermaster. The M1 helmet, dated in 1941, was issued to landing troops and is recognizable with fixed bails for the outer canvas chin strap. The chin strap on the liner was intended to secure the liner to the heavy helmet. The Rangers had the battalion markings painted on the back of the helmet, added here to the officer's vertical bar. On the front, the rank is painted in white. Issued for the first waves on June 6, 1944, the assault vest was intended to be worn over the uniform and replace part of the webbing. On the back there is a folding M43 Shovel attached to a tab. Underneath, in the back pocket, we'll find a change of clothes and combat rations to last the day. In the bottom pocket you can find K-Rations, quickly accessible to it without the need to remove the full vest. On the front there are various pieces of equipment in the pockets. Here MKII Grenades, the defensive fragmentation grenade. These are 3D printed reproductions. A pair of M7 binoculars was also placed in a pocket, a very useful accessory when one is an officer. The cumbersome cover was left out to save space and to avoid being spotted from a distance by snipers. It was issued in May 44 to the 1st, 4th and 29th Infantry Divisions, as well as the 2nd Rangers Battalion. They were heavy and impractical, so many soldiers were quick to part with them. The assault vest was made in khaki brown and dark green, the two colors being quite complicated to differentiate on period photos. The haversack was in majority for the Rangers and for the A Force. For companies C, E and F, the haversack were in a Lightning LCA, which sank at sea, so they were just with a bell and bandoliers for landing. Under the jacket we had a M36 Belt to carry various additional equipment. Even though the vest has its own hip slots, they were often not enough, and the spacing between the eyelets was not good for US equipment. On the front of the belt is the compass push, made of waterproof canvas to protect this instrument. On the right side, a brown leather M1916 Holster is used to slide the Colt 1911A1. Here is an airsoft gun from AW Custom, which you can find the review link in the description of this video. The Colt 1911A1 was the standard pistol in the US Army and fired 45 HCP like the Thompson. Its magazines held 7 rounds. Captain Miller slipped his knife into the belt behind the pistol holster. The knife is automatically assigned to personnel who are not armed with a rifle like our officer. On the back we find a first aid kit slipped into a first aid push M1924. It was placed here but was more likely to be carried on the front for quick use. On the back we find a M42 Canteen with its cup slipped into a M1910 cover. And finally a pistol magazine push is placed on the front and a snap allows to attach it on the M36 belt. Like most officers, our captain has an M1938 Map carrier, which has a snap with a shoulder reinforcement to be worn as a shoulder bag. The satchel allows to carry maps, pencils, rulers, etc. All equipment to allow the officer to locate himself in enemy territory. The maps are protected by rotary covers that allow writing on them with a grease pencil. On top of all the equipment, we add the Thompson Magazine push, designed to hold 6 magazines of 20 or 30 rounds. I can only advise you to wedge the strap under the belt before buckling it, to prevent the bag from moving around when you run. Built from 1917 and first put into services in 1921, the Thompson went through different versions, and the last one, the M1A1, was the most simplified version. It was put into service in the army from 1942. It weighs 4.7 kilos without magazine and has a rate of 700 rounds per minute. It can accommodate a magazine of 20 or 30 rounds of 45 ACP, circular magazine not being regulation in the US Army in Europe. Between 1942 and 1944, 539,143 units were produced. And soldiers could something prefer the MP40, which had a better range and was a little lighter. The grease gun M3 was developed during 1943 and widely distributed in 1944 to replace the Thompson, but it only complemented it, the grease gun having its own problems. The uniform and equipment presented here are valid from June 7, 1944, the Rangers having perceived a US Navy buoy as well as an M7 gas mask slipped into a waterproof M5 cover to land on the beaches. The Rangers of Company C, who landed at Point du Hoc, were able to see the English toggle warp as well as grappling hooks. The ranks of the senior officers could be painting on the helmet, but we see metal ranks glued or welded on the bomb of the M1 helmet. The Thompson is a WE airsoft replica whose review link can be found in the description. The belt is supposed to be worn over the M41 jacket, but Captain Miller used to wear it underneath. John H. Miller was born around 1900. He was employed at Thomas Alva Edison School in Hadley, Pennsylvania, where he taught him where he taught literature beginning in 1933. He married and coached the local baseball team. Then he joined the army and soon volunteered to join the Rangers, presented as an elite unit, at least as prestigious as the paratroopers. Miller was assigned to the 1st Rangers Battalion and was sent to North Africa, where he served during Operation Torch. First in Algeria, then in Tunisia, on the Kasserine Pass, where he met Sergeant Michael Horvath. It was in these battles that he demonstrated his leadership qualities and quickly became a captain. They fought together in Italy and were among the few survivors of the Battle of Cisterna on the Anzio bridgehead. Assigned to Company C, 2nd Rangers Battalion, Miller and Horvath landed on Omaha Beach in the Doggrim area. The company suffered heavy casualties and still managed to get through the wire and open a passage with the help of Mangalore. The Rangers took part in other action in Normandy in the days following the D-Days, and on June 9, the captain was ordered to find Private James Francis Ryan, a paratrooper in the 101st Airborne Division, whose 3 brothers had been killed in action. He formed a small detachment with Horvath, Jackson, Rayburn, Melish, Capalzo, Medic-Wide, and Corporal Upham of the 29th Infantry Division. Corporal Upham had a knack for annoying the other members of the group with his incessant questions. The group arrived at Neuville-au-Plain, where they met Sergeant Hill. It was while searching for Captain Hamill that Capalzo was killed by a sniper. The next day, the group discovered a crushed glider and several wounded. It was at this time that they learned that Private Ryan could be on the defense of a bridge of Ramel on the Merdere River. On the way, they were confronted with a strong position defended by MG42s. Despite the warning of his men, the captain decided to go up to clear the position. Medic-Wide was killed and a German was captured, then released because they could not afford to take him. The captain, faced with a general crack-up, revealed his previous job to his men, ending the suspense. A pool of money had even been set up. Private Ryan was finally found on 13 June after having attacked an SDKF-Z 250 with a rocket launcher. The order to bring him back was complicated when Ryan didn't want to abandon his comrade defending the Ramel Bridge. So Miller's group stayed with the 101st paratroopers at least for the battle. The captain took command, bring the most ranked, and prepared defensive positions. The attack turned into a nightmare, the SS being outnumbered with armor, artillery and infantry. Several paratroopers were killed, and as well as several Rangers. Sergeant Horvath was also listed, and Captain Miller was shot by a Mauser while reaching for the detonator to blow the bridge. Ironically, the shooter of the round was a prisoner voluntarily left alive by the captain. Just when all was lost for the survivors, air support overcame the last Panzer, and the captain's last words to James Francis Ryan were, "James, earn this." This is what concludes this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you do, please leave a thumb up, a comment, subscribe and share this video. I thank again La Petite Musette and Rigger Shop & Co for their support. You can find these grip shops online in description. Thank you to History Florent for the help brought to me for the translation. You can find his channel also in description. And if you also want to support me, I invite you to join me on my Tipeee page or to become a subscriber of the channel. You can help me on the form but also on the content of my videos in exchange of previews and privileged exchanges with me. And as for me, I'll see you soon for new videos. Bye! In de Brandebourg, Brandebourg, putain!